Things gon' change when I really hit the field. Undefeated chance, man, you know what's the deal. Tryna find a kid, I'm in the field doing drills. Boy, you just a sucker, you ain't never keep it real. 3 rings in my hand, I'm a warrior to the max. When I hang it up, they gon' have to give me plaques. Step up in the building and I only bring the facts. When I make a highlight, they gon' replay, run it back. Okay, always locked in, I don't got time to lax. Saying he the best, he could take a lap. Batted 1,000 when you check the stats. Boy, is you ready? You ain't gotta ask. I just really hit the field. 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 Boy, I'm about to hit the field.
All right, welcome to a very special episode of the Hitting the Field podcast. It is your host, Jeremy Brener, and I'm here today with one of our regulars here at the HTF podcast, Mr. Tyler Fellerman, coming off of a business trip to Seattle, Washington. Tyler, how's it going, man?
It's going good. It's NBA season. I couldn't be happier.
Yeah, so you flew 3,000 miles this weekend, and you went to see UW lose by with a 2-touchdown lead, and then you saw the Seahawks lose by 2 touchdowns. You really flew 3,000 miles for that. I'm sorry, brother, but did you have a good time in the Pacific Northwest?
Of course, I love being there. It's amazing. And the Sounders did win when I was in the city. I didn't go to the game, but they did win their playoff.
So you didn't go away empty-handed. That's great to hear. Well, joining me and Tyler today is our special guest, the guest that I couldn't reveal at the show yesterday, just because we didn't know if we could get this guy coming in. But we are so glad to have Mr. Basketball himself, Mr. Ross Bernstein, on the podcast for the first time. Ross, how's it going, man?
It is going great. It is time for day one of the NBA season. Couldn't be happier, and I love to see Tyler here, even though he did fly about 3,000 miles just to watch everyone lose, but it's okay. We do love Tyler.
Yeah. Our condolences. Our condolences. But you know what, Tyler, we did have a KD Sonics jersey on yesterday.
I saw.
Mm-hmm. So we had that was a little homage to you, my friend. So guys, the basketball season's back. Basketball season is back tonight. How are we feeling about that, Ross?
We're feeling good. Obviously, I would have loved to have seen Zion play tonight, but, you know, a lot of people have thought that his weight was already a concern. So far, he is not proving any of the haters wrong. He's already out 6 to 8 weeks with a torn meniscus, but it's great to watch NBA ball. We got the battle for LA tonight in the first night. That's going to be amazing to watch. Overall, pretty good slate of games tonight. But I'm ready for the whole season to start. Yeah. I'm ready for all the teams.
We also have a World Series Game 1 tonight, but that's the last lick of anything not basketball related, hopefully, that we will talk about during this podcast. This is all basketball here for the next hour plus. We will be diving into everything for the NBA season beginning tonight with Pelicans and Raptors. The Raptors get their rings and that banner hoisted to the rafters at the Scotia Bank Center. Is that what we're calling it now? Is that what it's called? It used to be the Air Canada Center, but it's not anymore. And then, of course, you have Kawhi Leonard possibly making his debut. I would assume he is. He's healthy. And then Anthony Davis also definitely playing tonight. So a decent slate tonight. I mean, obviously, you know, you would rather have Zion there, and that's obviously what the NBA was hoping for when they scheduled the first game of the season. But I kind of want to talk about, you know, we bring up Zion, and I think that's a great place to start because I want to touch on a lot of points that we did not touch on during the show yesterday. So if you haven't gone to check out the HTF NBA preview special, go check it out on our YouTube page at Hitting the Field. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe over there. But we didn't talk a lot about Pelicans yesterday because you can only talk so much basketball in an hour, but thankfully we have another hour plus to talk about that. So the Pelicans are probably one of the teams that has one of the bigger turnovers from the previous season. You have Zion, who may or may not be healthy. You have Lonzo, Brandon Ingram, and Josh Hart all coming from the Lakers in that trade. You also have Nickeil Alexander-Walker, who they got in the draft. You have Jackson Hayes, who they got in the draft. this could actually be one of the more interesting teams. And Tyler, I want to get your take on the Pelicans here. What do you think about this Pelicans team that is pretty new altogether?
I think every piece that they added this year is a great piece. You named all the young players that they got. Well, they add J.J. Redick to that. They add Derek Favors to that. Those are two veterans that are just going to help this young team become a team and mesh together.
It's a good mix of young and old, I would say. The thing is, though, is I think their biggest unfortunate part is that they're in the West,
Yep.
and they're just in the West, and that's you have to be at a specific level in the West in order to contend. If they were in the East, maybe they can vie for a playoff spot. I just don't know if they're going to be able to contend for a playoff spot right here.
Especially with Zion out early in the year with that torn meniscus in his knee. You don't know how many wins they're going to be able to pull out without him.
Yeah, Ross, how big of a loss to not just the Pelicans but to the NBA is Zion for being out with 6 to 8 weeks?
If you could tell that they put the Pelicans in the first day to play in the first game that all fans are going to see, obviously the NBA is super invested in Zion being possibly the next star. So missing him will be a huge hit to the NBA just for the first 6 to 8 weeks. Obviously, there's so many other storylines. Westbrook and Harden. You have the Battle of LA. But to the Pelicans team, it's going to be a big hit. He is a tank in the middle. A lot of people said his game's not going to translate. He can't do this against grown men. The preseason, although it is the preseason, showed that is not true. He was bodying these dudes. But with the other additions like Hayes, I love the addition of Redick because Redick just doesn't miss the playoffs, which probably gives him a good confidence booster. Lonzo Ball should have a breakout year. He is poised for it. After all this Triple B drama and all of them saying he's overrated, his father even calling him out for everything, saying you haven't done anything. He's like, all right, I'm going to show you how it's done. I like the team, but like you said, the West, there's maybe only 2-3 teams that almost have no shot at the playoffs. The Suns, the Buckstein, every time.
He knows.
The Grizzlies and maybe 1 or 2 other teams that basically they're just rebuilding and they know we're not dealing with it. But you got the Kings, you have the Mavericks, you have so many teams that are going to just fight for that 7th, 8th seed. It's going to be hard. They obviously have a young core that's going to do it. I don't think anyone in New Orleans expects them to be it this year. They're just trying to build for the future. But without Zion, the first 2 months can be very hard.
So a lot of people have pegged Zion to be the Rookie of the Year. And it's kind of hard to be the Rookie of the Year when you aren't on the basketball court. I mean, it's a hard thing to do. So do you guys think Zion is the Rookie of the Year when it's all said and done? Or is he just going to be too injured in order to take it?
I think if it's just he's missing these first 6 weeks, I mean, it's tough. A whole month of basketball miss. But I
6
feel
to
like
8 weeks. That's 2 months, maybe.
But I feel like him missing the beginning of the season as opposed to the end of the season is really going to still keep him up there in the Rookie of the Year talk.
All right.
Yeah.
Ross, what do you think?
Yeah, for sure. Zion, even though it says 6 to 8 weeks, I wouldn't be surprised if they just hold him out till about Christmas because why? There's no reason to rush him back. They're not a championship contender. But there's players like, obviously, I'm a Heat fan. Tyler Hero looks ridiculous. He looks like the next coming Klay Thompson. You have Ja Morant, who I feel like is kind of not been talked about, but like for a second round pick, it doesn't seem like people are expecting that much of him. He is a stud. He's on a team with Jaren Jackson that doesn't really have a lot. He's going to be expected a lot. So this is going to hurt him, but if Zion comes back the way he's been dominating in the preseason and in college, the 60 games should probably be enough to get him at least in the conversation.
Yeah, I don't know if it's necessarily that he's out of the conversation. I think it's more just he just won't have as much of a chance, just considering. Look, Zion is enough of an athlete where he doesn't even, and he's more, in my opinion, I see Zion more as an athlete than I see him as a basketball player. Because I think that his athleticism alone will be able to put him at a level to where he's better than most of the players in the NBA. Yeah. But his basketball skills, he's not a ball handler, and he shouldn't be expected to. But he look at what he had a game in the preseason where I think he dropped 30, but most of them were inside the paint. And that to me is exactly how he should be used in the entire. That's exactly how Zion should be used in the NBA. He is more physical than any of those guys. He will draw fouls very easily. As long as he is able to make free throw shots and stay healthy, I think Zion could be, that perennial all-star year in and year out. But I do see shades of, I hate to say it, like shades of, in a way, Tracy McGrady, shades of possibly like Derrick Rose, Brandon Roy, like the players that the players that aren't good enough because they were just so injured. Imagine the career that Brandon Roy would have had he stayed healthy. Imagine the career that Derrick Rose would have had he stayed healthy. Imagine T-Mac. And the thing about T-Mac, though, is T-Mac still made it to the Hall of Fame.
T-Mac could shoot the ball, too, very well.
That's also true. And Zion isn't as good of a shooter as Tracy McGrady. But, I mean, like, and that's why I put Zion in that category, is I don't necessarily think that Zion, his Hall of Fame chances are going to go out the window. And I know it's a lot to say. This guy hasn't even played an NBA game and won't play an NBA game for another possibly 6 weeks, 2 months. But, I mean, that's the expectation that's been put on him to start his career, is this guy is the new guy. He's the new it guy. And that's a huge expectation to be put on one person for someone who hasn't played an NBA game. And I hope that Zion can kind of shake off those expectations. I'm glad that he's in New Orleans because it's not as high of a market. I feel like if he was in New York right now, if the Knicks got the number one pick, they would be chastising this man. They'd say, you know what, screw this guy. Like they would criticize him for simply just being himself and just, unfortunately gathering an injury. And so I think that New Orleans is a really good spot for him.
I think the Lonzo pairing is perfect for him.
I agree with that too. I think that there are pieces around him that will allow him to improve and allow him to really flourish in New Orleans. So, last point before we move on to something else. Does New Orleans make the playoffs this season?
No, not in the West.
So JJ Redick's streak's going to break, or is he going to get traded to a playoff team?
I bet he would. He probably wants that, but I feel like just in the West, Zion missing the first 2 months, very young team. I know they have almost everybody from the Lakers last year on this team. We saw what they did without LeBron last year, not very much. So, definitely not a playoff team in my eyes.
Yeah, Ross, what do you think?
I don't know about definitely not a playoff team, but I don't think they're going to make it. I wouldn't be surprised if they're the 9th, 10th seed, but there's just way too much competition in the West. They're just too young, but they're a good team to look forward to for the next 3, 4, 5, 6 years even.
Yeah.
Sure.
Another team that I want to jump on that we didn't talk about yesterday, someone that I do think is going to be the Rookie of the Year. I believe Ja Morant is going to be the Rookie of the Year. And I think that it's simply because he's in the best position to succeed. He's on a team that he can start right away. I think last year we had like 5 rookies that started the first game of the season. And I expect that number to be very similar this year. But Ja Morant is definitely one of those players. And he's I think the closest thing to Russell Westbrook that we've seen since Russell Westbrook entered the league. So what are your guys' thoughts on Ja Morant and how are his Rookie of the Year chances?
Ja Morant's an absolute athlete and a stud, and he's a competitor. I think he has a good chance to be Rookie of the Year, especially with Zion being out, because he has so much opportunity on that team. No one's going to be taking his minutes. There's no Mike Conley anymore. He's in Utah. He's not fighting for anything. He's going to go out there, play his game. He needs to play relaxed. He's more of a John Wall to me than a Russell, because he's a little smaller. And the problem with John Wall in his first couple of years is he was playing so fast, he couldn't control the game. It took him about 3-4 years to be like, all right, the game slowed down, but I'm still the fastest athlete. I'm still going to get down the court fast. So it's going to take a little time for him to adjust, in my opinion, in the NBA, to just the physicality. He's not going to be able to just go in the lane and just do what he did in college. It's not going to happen. If he could develop his shot a little more, he's a decent shooter in college. Was it an amazing shooter? I think he really has a good chance of being Rookie of the Year, just based off opportunity alone and based off just raw hard work and talent, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I think he definitely has a chance. I think actually the Grizzlies are going to have a better season than the Pelicans this year. Just like I think the Lonzo pairing with Zion is great. I think the Jaren Jackson pairing with Ja Morant is great. They got Jonas Valanciunas back, so he's got 2 very solid big mans that he's going to be able to run the pick and roll with. I think it's, other than those 2, it's his team in the guard situation. He's going to be the ball handler. I think he's going to have a great opportunity to put up points and actually get this Grizzlies team more wins than they had last year and have a good chance of winning Rookie of the Year.
He also has Grayson Allen, Jay Crowder from the Mike Conley trade. So that to me, there's a lot of interesting pieces there for Memphis, and I think that I really like that John Wall comparison. Actually, I just think that defensively he's not gonna be there at the same time, but I do think that Memphis is actually one of the more intriguing teams to me this year that I can actually watch. I do like that brand of basketball, and I do think that it's an entertaining mix of players. I mean, I'm curious to see how it's going to work out, and I'm curious to see what John Morant's going to do, because that dude can ball, and I think that he's in a real good spot. He's right, he went to college at Murray State, very close to Memphis, and I think that it's a good place for him. And he also, like Zion, doesn't have that big market trying to eat him alive, and I think that will help him early on in his career. But I kind of want to shift gears a little bit to our second game tonight, and kind of the bigger markets now that we've already talked about the rookies and all that. I want to shift our focus to tonight's second game. I know we talked a little bit about the Pelicans, kind of went on a tangent, but I want to focus now on the Lakers and the Clippers. I think this is probably one of the biggest storylines, if not the biggest storyline of the NBA season. But we have the Lakers, who have Anthony Davis and LeBron, against Kawhi Leonard's Clippers. No Paul George tonight, obviously out for the first part of the season. But what do you expect out of this game tonight, Ross? I want to know what you think about this game tonight.
This game's going to be a big staple game. This is the battle for LA. This is the first time probably in the history of LA basketball that there's actually two teams that are super competitive. I know the Lob City era was great, but that team never really was known as the favorite, They weren't like, oh, this is Lob City's year with Blake Griffin and Chris Paul and DeAndre Jordan. It was just this team's really good, Lakers aren't. This game is huge. Paul George missing is going to be big, but they had to have seen that coming. They knew they were going to miss the first couple months of the season. But the Lakers look good. The Clippers look good. This is going to be an amazing game. Kawhi, I hope, shuts down LeBron. I'm a big Clippers guy this year. That's my pick to win it all, especially when Paul George comes back. I mean, I expect a great game. I expect a competitive game. I expect people diving on the floor, going for all the boards. I think this is going to be a great one.
Yeah, I mean, if Kawhi locks up LeBron, I wonder who's going to be locking up Anthony Davis. This is a great matchup. It's going to be set the tone for the rest of the season. I'm not going to take this one game and say this team is better than the other based on who wins, just because Paul George isn't there. Kyle Kuzma's a little banged up. But yeah, this is going to be a great game tonight, and it's what the NBA fans have been waiting for.
Yeah. Ross, did you bring up a good point? You would assume that Kawhi is going to guard LeBron in this game and in future games. But Anthony Davis, I mean, I guess you put Montrezl Harrell on him. I guess you try to throw Zubac on him at some points. But that, to me, is going to be a challenge for a lot of the teams in the West, because a lot of the teams in the West, they play small. The way it looks like is the East plays big and the West plays small. You have a lot of small ball teams in the West. The Warriors are a small ball team. The Rockets are a small ball team. The Clippers are a small ball team. But the Lakers are the one team that is not. They don't just play small ball. They have elusive big men. Anthony Davis is there. They had DeMarcus Cousins, but obviously not happening this year. But they can throw Dwight Howard in there, and sometimes that can be a benefit, because you have that size down low that most teams don't have, but also that can be a bit of a hindrance, because you have these teams, these small ball teams, they have the ability to spread the floor, and they have the ability to, run the floor on you all night long. But, and I'm not saying, and, Anthony Davis, it's not necessarily a knock towards him, because he is, someone that can keep up with, guards in terms of endurance, but that could be something that goes incredibly in the Lakers' favor or incredibly in the opponent's favor. So how do you guys think Anthony Davis will match up against other teams in the Western Conference, given the style of basketball that most of those contenders play?
I mean, he's been on the Pelicans before this. I think he's shown what he can do against West teams. The man's a freak. He's one of the best defenders in the league. He'll drop 25 on your head. If there's not really many matchups that you can put up against Anthony Davis that's going to slow him down. I think the Lakers did a good job, and they went big, but they went athletic and big. Dwight Howard looks different. He's lost so much weight.
Very different.
Yeah. Anthony Davis is one of the best defenders. JaVale McGee, he's an athlete at the center position. Kyle Kuzma, although his defense is shaky, he's still athletic. And LeBron James, I mean, what else can I say?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. This is not a team of big men that are like Boban and Shaq, where you park them in the paint, let them just be big. These are moving big men. JaVale McGee can move with the best. Dwight Howard looks in ridiculous shape. I expect a big year from him off the bench. I expect him and JaVale to be a ridiculous tandem, especially if they come off the bench together. 2 7-footers, ridiculous. Obviously, Anthony Davis is a freak athlete. We have seen that it does. He is 7 feet tall, yeah, or about whatever after the new measurement, 6'11.75, whatever.
Can I just say that is the dumbest thing I've ever heard, because
nobody's playing in bare feet.
Exactly. Why do you need to measure someone barefoot if you're gonna play, with sneakers? Like, I mean, maybe the NBA will blindside us tonight and just say, "Oh, we're going the whole season barefoot, like, no shoes, no shoes." This, like, imagine how all Nike and everyone would feel. They're like, we don't want any of that. No more sponsorship. No, it's over. But let's bring things back a little bit.
Yeah. So Anthony Davis is just a freak, and one of his big benefits, like throughout his whole career, including when he was a kid, is he was a point guard for a couple years. He just hit a ridiculous growth rate. I think we were like 9 inches in one summer. Mm-hmm. So he's used to playing at that's what made him so dangerous. He's like, I already learned how to shoot. I already learned how to handle. And now I'm just 7 feet tall. How convenient. So he's going to be a monster. I just think this team developed a perfect team for LeBron. They're like, we're going to get you shooters. We're going to get you guys that could run. You could throw lobs. All you have to do is be LeBron, and this team will succeed. So against the West, I don't think it'll be a problem. Obviously, I'm excited to see the Warriors this year because they're going to run the same brand of basketball without Kevin Durant and Klay Thompson. I'm going to love this. Is Steve Kerr's year to show if he's just a good coach or could he just coach the best players. Because if you gave me Steph Curry and Draymond, Durant and play, I think I can make a decent team out of them. So I think the Lakers will compete against all the teams this year. I don't think anyone's going to really, besides like obviously they're going to poise a challenge, but no one's going to be like, oh, we match up too bad against them. And the Clippers are so long, even though they're not the tallest team. Montrezl Harrell, I don't know how tall he is now. I have no clue any of that.
He's like 6'8" and 2/4.
Once they said Draymond was 6'5", I just stopped. I was like, I don't care anymore. So with that length, and they got Paul George, and Patrick Beverley's a stud. I don't know. He's 6 foot. He plays like he's 7'5". This is a defensive, a lot of defensive players on that Clippers team that are going to be good. So I think this is going to be a great season for everyone in the West. I don't think there's any matchup that's going to be too hard or too this or too that. I just think the best team will come out and win for sure.
Yeah, so I do want to talk about the Warriors now that you brought them up. It kind of makes me want to talk to them. It was my finals pick yesterday, and I truly believe, like, the Warriors, they've made it to, like, to me, it's like you are the champion until you are proven to not be the champion. And the thing is, people are so quick to turn against the Warriors only because they lost. They lost Kevin Durant, obviously. They lost Klay Thompson, obviously. But to be fair, they wouldn't have had Kevin Durant this year anyway. And Klay Thompson, I know he tore his ACL in June, but it's looking now that Steve Kerr said that he is unlikely to play for the Warriors at all this season, which is definitely something that would change my opinion on if the Warriors actually make the finals or not. So the thing is, he tore his ACL in June, had surgery on July 2nd, and said he had hopes to play after the All-Star break in February. So technically, I guess ACL tears are about a 9-month injury. So if he tore it on it's surgery on July 2nd, you're looking at possibly April 2nd as a return date. So that would mean right before the playoffs start, which, I think with the way the Warriors are, and because they've played so much basketball together, I truly believe you can insert Klay Thompson at any point during the season and they'll be fine. But also, they have D'Angelo Russell this year, which is something that is different. Obviously, D'Angelo Russell is not Klay Thompson, but he certainly is an added, look, like they weren't going to have Kevin Durant or Clay this year, but the fact that they got at least something to resemble them a little bit or replace them a little bit, I think that helps. What are your guys' thoughts on the Warriors this year and their new configuration with D'Angelo Russell instead of Clay or KD?
I think when it comes to D'Angelo Russell, you take a step down when it comes to his offense versus Klay Thompson's. You take a major leap when it comes to D'Angelo Russell's defense compared to Klay Thompson. I think that's going to be the biggest problem for the Warriors this year. Draymond Green can't cover everybody. Steph Curry has been known as not the best defender. D'Angelo Russell is definitely known as not being a good defender. I'm kind of feeling a 7-8 seed from the Warriors this year just because of the defensive drop-off that they're going to have. But who knows? I'm still thinking Steph Curry is going to be in the the MVP talks, definitely, because he's going to be having to drop 40 a game for that team to win. But I think the best-case scenario is that you get Klay Thompson at All-Star break and you try to trade D'Angelo Russell for another Russell piece.
That's interesting, Ross. You're shaking your head.
Yeah, no. To say he's a huge step down offensively is a bit insane. A small step. It's a different step. I don't know if it's a step down. Obviously, he is not the same shooter Klay Thompson is. I would never argue that. But he is a better passer than Klay Thompson is. He's a better playmaker than Klay Thompson is. He's not the same defender. That is a huge leap down. I'm not going to argue that. But what the Warriors do, what makes them so great, is they're a team. They defense by committee. They're not going to just be like, oh, we're just going to throw the guys out there. They usually defend and help. And Curry is not a great defender, but he's going to get about 2 steals a game. He's going to do a lot. And I like the addition of Willie Cauley-Stein in the paint. That's going to be their best big man since Andrew Bogut. I think he's a stud. I think this is going to be a good year for him. He should just be catching lobs from Draymond. It's a good team. I doubt Klay Thompson's coming back. There was a report this morning. Steve Kerr basically said, yeah, no, it's probably not going to happen. They're not going to rush me back. They're not going to do that. So I think 7-8 seed is not too ridiculous only because it's the West. The 7-8 seed in the West is probably the 4th seed or 3rd seed in the East. So it's not that it's ridiculous. I wouldn't be surprised if they get 5th seed, maybe 6th seed. They're going to be good. But like I said, this is, to me, the person that has the most proof this year on that Warriors team is Steve Kerr. This is going to be his first year where he's not coaching a bunch of superstars. It's like when Eric Spoelstra went from the Big Three to have a normal team. Still, proved to be an amazing coach. He's like, I could still coach any guy. Give me any group of people. Yeah, that's the goat. Yeah, give me any group of guys. I'm going to make it work. So I think Steve Curry's I hope they don't change the offense too much around. They still could do the same thing with the off-ball screens. And if they run that offense, if Russell could keep what he did last year and keep that momentum going, I have no reason why they won't be a good team. Now, do I agree with you that they'll win the West? Not necessarily. They just don't have enough talent. They just don't have it. And Curry, he's going to have a lot on his plate this year. And I remember back in the day, he had a lot of injury concerns, which, in my opinion, getting people like Durant and all these people to kind of help you out and you don't have to do it all helps. So this year he's going to have a lot more on his plate. He's going to have to do a lot more. We have to watch that ankle. That man has the world's strongest ankle brace on every game. I see it every game. I'm amazed. So I think it's going to be a good team. I think the offense will run the same, but I just don't think they have the talent. Unless Klay can miraculously come back. That's a whole different argument, but yeah. I just highly doubt it.
The craziest part about this, I'm looking at the Warriors roster right now on my phone. Steph Curry is the oldest person on this team.
Yep. Iggy's gone.
Iggy's gone. Livingston's gone. He's the only player born in the 1980s on this team, which is crazy to me. Steph Curry, and you do bring up good points with that. And I believe that with Iggy out, you also sacrifice a lot of defense right there too. So what they're going to need is they're going to need some of these guys that they've drafted and in a way stashed on their bench to step up. You're going to need Jacob Evans to step up. You're going to need Omari Spellman, who was traded for Damian Jones, to step up. Kevon Looney's probably going to be that starting center. Jordan Poole, who they drafted from Michigan.
Let's not talk about Jordan Poole now after this offseason.
Ross really does not like Jordan Poole.
I got dropped by the same person twice. I can't. That's just a lot for me to handle. I'm sorry.
He got dropped by, who was the person that he got dropped by?
Oh, I don't know. It was a dude on the Lakers. I completely forgot his name.
But it was the same.
No. Preseason. Same preseason.
It was Antetokounmpo's brother, wasn't it?
No. All right, give me a second. Keep talking.
All right.
I'm gonna get it.
All right, Ross looks this up. But yeah, this is a very different team. The only people returning from this team from a year ago: Steph Curry, Jacob Evans, Draymond Green, Kevon Looney, and then you have technically, if you want to call Klay Thompson, but like you really can't. So yeah, I mean it's literally Steph, Jacob Evans, Draymond Green, and Kevon Looney. That's really all they have from a previous year. This is a brand new team. It's literally a brand new team for Steph Curry. Did you find your answer?
Zach Norvell Jr. dropped Jordan
Zach Norvell Jr.
back-to-back preseason games.
Rookie.
Yeah, hey.
Rookie on rookie violence over here.
I think he went to did he go to Notre Dame or Villanova?
Villanova.
No, he played for Gonzaga.
Oh yeah, he did play.
He did play for Gonzaga.
So close.
Simeon High School.
Hey, same as D Rose.
But yeah, I actually really like Jordan Poole.
I like Jordan Poole too. I'm just messing with him. But to get dropped by the same person twice in back-to-back games, like you have to know I'm not doing this again the second game. First time, shame on you. Second time, shame on me.
So yeah, they're going to be counting on a lot of young guys, and Steph Curry is going to shoulder the load. And Steph needs to stay healthy more now than ever before. He had in the last couple of years, he had KD to lean on. He had Klay to lean on. He doesn't have that anymore. So his health is probably paramount this year in order for the team's success. If he is hurt, it's gonna be a D'Angelo Russell led team, which isn't terrible, but also in the Western Conference, it might not live up to the standards of all the other teams around you.
This is not the East.
Yeah, he did good with the Nets last year. He was the leader, surrounded by all those great.
But he had a really good
too.
supporting cast around him.
Yeah, compared
and
to this
the
Warriors
supporting cast that he has this year is consisted of a bunch of young guys. Mm-hmm. I mean, he has some veterans. I guess you can call Willie Cauley-Stein a veteran. You can call Alec Burks a veteran. But
those aren't very good veterans.
Exactly. It's not
decent veterans.
it's not the guys you're picking in 2K Blacktop.
Yeah.
It's not those guys. But
yeah, Jared Dudley last year, so this is a step down.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, a leap down from Jared Dudley. But another team that I want to bring up that we didn't really talk about yesterday, the Northwest Triangle could be the three best teams in the West this year, at least when it comes to the regular season, I believe. And it's also a lot of teams that actually don't play a lot of small ball. I guess you could say that Portland plays some small ball, but Denver and Utah are two teams that are very traditional with their style of play. And specifically Denver, John Whitley said on the show yesterday that he believes that Denver could win the West and get that first seed. What are your guys' thoughts on Denver? Because I did want to give him some more attention yesterday, but we didn't have the time for it. But now's the time. Denver, what are your guys' thoughts?
I absolutely love Denver as a regular season team. I think they will be the number one seed in the West going into the playoffs just because they're so hungry. They're not – the Clippers and the Lakers, they're not playing for the regular season. They basically have no interest. I know they said they're not going to limit their players, but they are. The Nuggets are sending those young guys out every game. They have Gary Harris, Jamal Murray, Jokic. The biggest sleeper possibly for Rookie of the Year, Michael Porter Jr., maybe pull a Ben Simmons, Bol. There's so many players on the team. Oh, Hernan Gomez, another great young player. That team is so hungry, and what they didn't have last year in the playoffs was experience. They lost that series. It was heartbreaking. They're going to come back hungrier than ever. Jokic looks, he's a stud. I just love watching him because he doesn't look like he's about to do anything to you and then will just destroy you in every way. So I think the Nuggets are going to be an amazing team. They should have a great young core. They have shooters, they have passers, they have a great coach, and they have no reason to not be the number one seed in the West, at least in the regular season. Playoffs, different story.
Yeah. Tyler, what do you think about the Nuggets?
I completely agree. I mean, they're probably the deepest, youngest team in the NBA right now. Michael Porter Jr. is coming back. I think the only player they lose is Trey Lyles, and they replace him immediately with Jeremiah Grant, which is, I think, a step up. Paul Millsap's coming back.
He spells his name wrong, but
Jeremy. Isn't it Jerome?
No, it's definitely just Jeremy. It's Jeremy Grant. But I will say this about the Nuggets. They can make like a starting lineup with their bench, and it can rival
also
a lot
Will
of
Barton.
Will the Thrill Barton. Malik Beasley is going to get paid this summer probably by another team. So like this could be the team that Denver. This might be Denver's best chance to win a title. And
the
Denver,
good thing about them is that they're so young.
Yeah, and that's really, I believe, going to help them down the stretch.
I think Jokic can definitely be in the MVP talk this year as well.
Mm-hmm. They're definitely the least injury-prone team out of any of the teams in the West, but So the reason why I think they didn't work in the playoffs last year is simply because when it comes to the playoffs, you have to crunch your rotations down. You're expected to play longer minutes, and you're expected to, really go to war with the best of the best from every roster in the West. And they faced the Spurs. They were pushed to 7, and then they were pushed to 7 against the Blazers, but ended up falling in Game 7. And I think with the Nuggets here, the one thing that they are simply lacking is experience.
Yep.
You can really look at this roster and you're like, where is the hole? I can't find it. I need a magnifying glass to find it, and even then I'll have some difficulty. But you look at 3-point shooting. They're a great 3-point shooting team. They have Jamal Murray. They have Gary Harris. They have Will Barton. Malik Beasley can shoot the ball. Jokic can shoot threes, which could be a dark horse MVP candidate this year.
Can shoot threes.
Look, if the
corner.
Nuggets get the number 1 seed in the West, how likely would it be that Jokic's the MVP?
I think he's probably my top candidate for MVP this year. I think it's going to be a battle for. I think centers are going to be battling for MVP this year as compared to previous years.
Which is crazy considering how things have gone in recent years. You have Paul Millsap, which is your veteran presence that a young team needs. Jeremy Grant is going to be a good stretch for them. I could see possibly in the starting lineup. Maybe seeing Millsap come off the bench. Torrey Craig is another great defensive wing for them. Mm-hmm. So they have it all. They have defense. They have shooting. They have paint presence. They really have everything you want in an NBA team. Ross, what do you think is going to be the challenge for this team at the end of the day?
It's just going to be experience. I think Jamal Murray is going to have a great year. I think this, you were mentioning some of these players on this team that I almost forgot played on them. I almost forgot Paul Millsap played on this team, and he's a former All-Star. This makes me want to play 2K right now, I'm not going to lie. And we just go out there and have this roster. Experience is the only thing. Like you said, there is no weak point. They have a big in the middle that could pass. They have every shooter you can imagine. You have guys that could drive. You have nothing to stop them except for experience. And possibly they don't have a second solidified star just yet. I think Jamal Murray will be that star this year, in my opinion. So there's just no reason they shouldn't win it all. If you got to just write this team down on paper, every spot's filled. They just need experience. I think last year was a great step, but Jamal Murray needs to step up. Not that he didn't have a great season last year. It's not like he had a bad season. He needs to come back. He just needs to go to the next level and prove that he's a superstar in this league. And
he didn't showcase everything that he possibly had in the playoffs, and I think that was part of the reason why they had such an early exit. Their season starts Wednesday night, tomorrow night, at the Moda Center in Portland, and that's the next team I want to talk about. The Portland Trailblazers, coming off of a Western Conference Finals trip where they got swept by the Golden State Warriors, but this team is very different than that team that lost in 4 games to the Warriors. They made a big trade in the offseason to get Hassan Whiteside in Portland, and they were able to y'all have opinions on that, I can tell. Drafted Nasir Little, and they also swapped Kent Bazemore and Evan Turner. So this team is very different in terms of their supporting cast, but they still have CJ, they still have Dame, and that, to me, I think is going to really play a part. Because if you look at the West nowadays, you have it's composed of power duos. You have the Rockets with Harden and Westbrook. You have the Warriors with Steph and D'Angelo Russell. You have the Lakers with LeBron and AD. You have the Clippers with Kawhi and PG. You have the Jazz even with Conley and Mitchell. So there are power duos, and this team is the one duo out of all these teams that actually played together last year, and so they won't have to really overcome the chemistry difficulties or the fit for them, because they know how to play together, and they know how to play together well. So what are your guys' thoughts on Portland this year and how they might be able to take a step in the right direction?
Portland's always one of the teams that people usually sleep on, and then they end up being the 4 seed in the West. I'll go back to you saying that they got Hassan Whiteside. As a Heat fan, I don't really know if that's a good thing. He's just there to hold it down until Nurkic comes back. Rodney Hood, I think, found a place where he can actually play and he enjoys playing. Damian Lillard is a bad man. Put him in the MVP talks this year because that man is probably one of the most unstoppable forces in the league right now. CJ McCollum, freak floater, freak mid-range. Nasir Little. I did not think I would expect much from Nasir Little, but after watching him in the preseason, he did pretty good, and I think he also found a place where he can shine as a player and as a rookie. I think, once again, people are going to sleep on this Portland team because of the big names in LA, Denver coming back, but people need to remember this is a team that went to the Western Conference Finals last year, and I think they can possibly be a 4 or 5 seed again this year.
Yeah, Ross, what do you think?
He said they're a sleeper team. I'm going to keep sleeping. I've slept every year on them. I still will continue to sleep. I absolutely love Damian Lillard as a person and as a ball player, great rapper. But they just don't have the overall team to do it. Every year it seems like Damian Lillard is such a dedicated person to the team. CJ McCollum, they're almost at the point where it seems like they don't even want another big name to come in. I don't know why. It just feels like that to me. They have a decent team. Obviously, they'll end up doing great things because they're a good team. They have a good coach. Hassan Whiteside, another disgruntled Heat fan. I think disgruntled's the only word. He's going to just go in there. He's a Snapchat king. I love his content there. But in-game, he just doesn't have it anymore. He's going to hold it down until Nurkic comes back. I like Zach Collins. It's a whatever team. It's cool.
What are the Blazers missing, Ross? What are the Blazers missing? What would they need to get in order for you to take them seriously?
They need to round out this roster a little better. I like Rodney Hood, and they need at
with
least,
who?
I don't know. Maybe
With type of player?
Probably someone that could slash a little more. They have a great shooters with McCollum and Lillard. I don't know who's available. In my opinion, I was waiting to see who would trade for Bradley Beal, but after he got that extension, obviously it seems like he's staying there. I figured some team would make that push, but they just need a third star. They don't need a third superstar. They don't need LeBron. They don't need Durant. They need a third dude that's like, I'm gonna get a bucket, because it seems like they're putting so much pressure on Lillard and McCollum, and they plan on obviously giving the ball to Rodney Hood a lot. I just think they'll be a good team. I think they'll be a competitive team because they're just great guys, and I think they have a great coach. But I don't see them getting the Western Conference Finals this year. There's just too much talent. There's just too much raw talent on the West. I don't think they're gonna get it done.
One thing that I will do and defend Hassan Whiteside here. Portland has a way of revitalizing players' careers in a way. They did it with, Rodney Hood is a great example. Rodney Hood was kind of out of the league in a way on the fringe, and then he comes to Portland, and now he has a rotation spot. You look at Myers Leonard, who started off, he started off in Portland, and he was able to, find his way in the shadows. But last year he was able to really, he had 30 points in Game 4. He was the leading scorer in Game 4. So he was, I guess, technically revitalized before they sent him to Miami. But you also look at Evan Turner as an example. Evan Turner was out of the league pretty much, had that ridiculous contract in summer 2016, but he came to Portland and, really found himself again. And, maybe they can do the same for Enes Kanter is another great example. Enes Kanter was waived by the Knicks, signed by the Blazers, had a great postseason with the Blazers, and now he got a lot of money with the Celtics and a starting spot.
It's part of the reason that they were able to beat
the
Nuggets last year.
Yeah, and, maybe the Blazers could be that new fresh start for Hassan Whiteside as well. Obviously you wouldn't expect too much out of Whiteside. He isn't expected to be a starter long term, especially with Nurkic coming back shortly. But, the bench on this team could surprise a lot of people, with Rodney Hood being that third combo guard. You have Kent Bazemore, who could be that slasher that you were talking about. And Anthony Simons is in year 2 right now. He looked really good in the preseason as well. Might be able to take some of the weight off of Damian Lillard's shoulders in the second unit. He didn't really get a whole lot of playing time last year, but I expect that to change this season. And then you have Hassan Whiteside, who's a really good backup big and could contend with, he can defend big guys. Like, he can defend Jokic possibly. He can defend the Lakers big men, Anthony Davis possibly. So I think that Hassan Whiteside is in a really good spot. I think that it came in Miami. I think that he outgrew it, and the league kind of went by and he was kind of picking it up. But I think he's in a much better spot than he was in Miami, and I think that he could possibly be looking at a renaissance here.
You mentioned him coming off the bench, and I think that was the biggest issue with him in Miami, is that when he started losing minutes, he started not caring about the game and stuff like that. It all depends on...
Maybe because Miami wasn't a contender.
Yeah, that could be it, but he still wants his minutes. He said he wants to play. He said he wants to go somewhere where he's going to play. He's going to get that with Nurkic out, but how's he going to react when Nurkic comes back and he starts seeing less time and less minutes? Is he going to go and throw his temper tantrums again, or... It's tough. We don't know.
Yeah, and just because your team's not a contender doesn't mean you go out there and not give it your all.
Very true.
It doesn't matter.
Very true.
Yeah, I mean, look, I wish the best on every person in the NBA, but Hassan Whiteside basically played 40 great games, looked like the next coming of Shaq, and then said, "Oh yeah, I'll sign this massive contract, get some koi fish in my and call them my young boys, and then just be trash." Yeah, hang out with DJ Khaled. Oh, he loved Miami. I think he loved Miami. I don't think he wanted to leave. He's like, "Oh man, they're not gonna give me any more money. They're gonna place me with Bam. All right, I'm gonna go somewhere else." Yeah. Look, Portland, once again, they're a cool team, man. I don't know, not super impressed by them. Look. They just don't have enough talent in the West to compete. They'd have to make a big splash. Look, if Hassan Whiteside has the best case scenario, in my opinion, it's a 15, 10, and 2 block season. That's like best case if everything goes amazingly well. I don't think he's going to go back.
I don't expect it to happen.
He's not going to that 40, 45 game stretch that he went with the Heat that one year. That's just not going to happen again. He's a crybaby, honestly. He just doesn't want to play.
Say it like it is.
Yeah, no, he just is, man. Once they subbed him out and said, "Hey, we have this guy named Bam. He's a young stud. We're going to share the minutes with him." He just whimpered and just started running around the locker room making jokes. And, good for him, man. He got his money. He finessed the Heat. Good for him, man. But I just don't see it for Hassan this year. But we'll see, I guess.
Fair enough. All right. So another team in the West that we didn't really touch on a whole lot yesterday, the Utah Jazz. And this team could challenge the Nuggets for that top spot in the West. The team was the 5 seed last year, lost to the Rockets in 5 games, but this team is probably one of the most improved teams in the West, I guess, after the Lakers and the Clippers. They traded for Mike Conley because it's a trade that they needed to make. It's, Donovan Mitchell, they don't need to pay him right now, so why not get a point guard you can pay? Mike Conley was on a ridiculous contract. Memphis made the right call by trading him. You also got Bojan.
Sacramento Bojan
Bogdanovic. Thank you for the correction, Ross. But he's going to add an element on this team that wasn't there before, and it's the 3-point shooting. They had Joe Ingles, but Joe Ingles wasn't able to shoulder the entire load. But you put Joe Ingles and Bogdanovic, that can cause some problems. And especially considering the fact that you have Rudy Gobert, who can hold that paint down, possibly the Defensive Player of the Year again this year. And Donovan Mitchell takes another step in the right direction as a year 3 pro. Honestly, the Utah Jazz are probably the most slept-on team in the entire league. And that's a team that I really think teams should be worrying about.
Definitely.
What do you guys think?
I don't think enough people are talking about this team. Mike Conley, people only pay attention to his major contract that he got, but this is a 20-10 guy. There's nobody else in the league that's putting up 20 and 10, maybe Westbrook and CP3, but I think Conley is still in his good years. I think pairing him with Donovan Mitchell is just going to revamp him because he was on a bad Grizzlies team. Rudy Gobert is a freak. He's probably the best defensive center in the league. They're going to be small if they play Ingles and Bogdanovic, but that doesn't really matter if you have Rudy Gobert in the paint. I think this team is easily a top 3, top 4 team in the West.
Ross, do you agree?
Yeah, I don't know about top 3, top 4, just because it's just so deep. I wouldn't be surprised though. Like, definitely would not be surprised. This team is going to be really good to watch. They're going to be a solid team. I love Snyder's the coach, right? Quinn Snyder.
Quinn Snyder
Quinn
just signed an
Snyder's-
extension.
Yep. They just gave Joe Ingles $12 million for one extra year. He looks like my uncle, and I love him. He's great. Like he just looks like he's out there just like, yeah, I'm just playing with the kids. Just give me the ball in the corner, bang, bang. Like they're a great team. Gobert is an absolute stud. What I like about the Conley pairing is it seemed like they wanted Mitchell, even though he's a 2 guard, to kind of play the 1 guard a little more in his first couple years. They were like, you have to be a facilitator, you have to do all this. We need you to do it. And obviously he can do it, but he was very high turnover prone. This year, Conley is going to take a lot of relief on him and say, hey, I could take the ball. I know you're a scorer. Get your shooting in. Drive, cut. You're a freak athlete. I can handle the assist. That's going to be great. Bogdanovich was a very underrated player in Indiana. I think he's going to be a huge piece, another shooter. They have Ed Davis coming off the bench, who's a great guy. I just think this team's so deep. They're kind of like the Nuggets, where they have about they have a 9-10 person rotation. I think they'll be a great team. They have no reason not to. They're defensive studs on that team. Mm-hmm. They're going to probably be the best defensive team in the league, in my opinion. I wouldn't be surprised. Gobert he's the France freak. We'll go France freak for today.
The France freak.
France
That's an
freak.
interesting one.
I mean,
I like it.
He's shaped like, what's crazy is Giannis is shaped just like him and 10 times faster, but whatever. Gobert's an absolute stud. They have a great team. I mean, I expect them to be, I guess, 4th, 5th seed. You got the Lakers, you have Houston, so they should be good.
They also pick up Jeff Green, who's a defensive player. They got Dante Exum coming off the bench, who's mainly defense. Emmanuel Mudiay, defensive player. This is definitely probably the number 1 defensive team.
I feel like I've been waiting for Exum every year to take that next step. I don't know why.
Because he's always injured. He gets injured
I'm like,
every year.
This is his year, and then he's just not his year. But it's upset.
Mudiay. I'm waiting for Mudiay.
Mudiay at least moves a little bit. Exum, I'm just waiting. I feel like he's still.
They also have Royce O'Neal, who is a great 3-and-D guy for them. They do have a really deep. Then they can go 9-10 deep every night, and I think they can even keep that up in the playoffs. And they can get away with it. That's the thing is most teams can really only get away with an 8-man, 9-man rotation in the playoffs. This team, I could see them getting away with a 10-man rotation. There's not really one person that I could see like, oh yeah, this person can't play in the playoffs. Like
when you look at the Jazz's deep rotation, it's defense.
Exactly.
Defense. When you look at other teams, it's more of an offense.
But will this team struggle on the offensive end?
With Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert and
because
Joe
they put so much of an
Ingles
emphasis on
and
defense.
Bogdanovich and Mike Conley. I mean, Mike Conley's 20 points a game. Donovan Mitchell's 20 points a game. Ingles is going to have that 3-pointer. Bogdanovich was a 15-point game guy last year. Rudy Gobert, I mean, if he gets an offensive rebound, that's an easy dunk for him. So I don't think they have to worry too much if they're locking up on defense.
Like my father told me, if the other team scores 0 points, all you got to do is score 1 to win. Yep. They're going to hold that team to so little points. Do I think they'll be the Warriors? Absolutely not. I don't think they'll be.
But they don't need to be.
No, I don't think they need to be. I think if they average 100, 405 points a game, they're going to keep every team to about 95, 96. It's going to be really hard to get to 100 on this team.
Salt Lake City is also one of the most difficult places to play a basketball game in the entire NBA. Just because it's because of the altitude, just because of just that fan base. They don't have anything in Utah except for the Jazz. They used to have the Salt Lake City Stallions, but they folded.
Stallions.
They folded. But yeah. The last team I want to talk about in the West before we move on over to the East is the Houston Rockets. My Houston Rockets. We did a whole lot of nothing in the offseason except acquire a young 30-ish old point guard by the name of Russell Westbrook. Yeah, his name is Russell Russell Westbrook. Westbrook. He made a couple of All-Star games. He averaged a triple-double maybe once or twice. He won an MVP once in Oklahoma City. And he's now a Houston Rocket, and he's in a backcourt with James Harden, the 2018 MVP. So very rarely do you see a pairing like this ever happen. It's something I certainly never expected. The way I describe it is this. Houston fans did not like Russell Westbrook because they saw him in a way as kind of stealing the MVP from James Harden in the 2017 season, which arguably is the best season in James Harden's career, even after his 2018 MVP campaign and even after his 35-a-game campaign last season. 2017 might have been his best year as a pro, and he didn't win that MVP because Russell Westbrook averaged a triple-double. So to see Russell Westbrook in Rockets red is almost like seeing a Red Sox player go and play for the Yankees. It's like Johnny Damon going and play for the Yankees, and you have to root for Johnny Damon now. Yankees fans hated Johnny Damon. Johnny Damon was a huge part of that team that stole the 2004 championship series from them. But then he went to go play for them, and it's like, oh, you're one of us now. And like, I still, in a way, can't believe that Russell Westbrook is a Rocket. I still need to see it in a regular season game in order for me to believe that it's actually a thing. They don't start their season until Thursday night when they play the Bucks at home. But that I'm looking forward to that. But you look at the Rockets this year; they didn't change a whole lot outside of Westbrook. They added Tyson Chandler in the front court, but they really decided to keep that core together. Austin Rivers came back on a discounted contract. Daniel House returned. They did sign Ben McLemore and Thabo Sefolosha. They could be in the mix for some playing time with Gerald Green likely out for the season with the Lisfranc injury. So there's a whole lot of... This team is very similar to last year's team. There's not a whole lot. The one thing that I do think about this team that will suffer is the defense, because you did lose Chris Paul, and Chris Paul was an All-NBA defender. What do you guys think? How is this team going to work defensively? I think offensively, you don't have to worry about it. They have two of the top scorers in the league. But defensively, how is this team going to keep together with the rest of the teams in the West?
Defense. It's Mike D'Antoni. We're not doing defense. We're dropping 150 a game. The defense will be whatever. I don't think they care. I really think Mike D'Antoni's going to wake up every morning salivating. I think this might be the 6 and under offense instead of the 7 and under with Russell Westbrook running it. I mean, defensively, they're just going to struggle. You have Capella anchoring it. James Harden does not care about defense. I don't care what they say about his
2 steals a game.
Yeah, 2 steals a game. Also probably lets about 20,000 layups just get right by him and he just watches. Just because you have steals doesn't make you a great player means you have fast hands. Completely different. Look, this team's going to be so fun to watch. And I'm so excited to watch this offense play. If Russell Westbrook and James Harden could get that bond right, this team is going to be very, very dangerous. But if they get it wrong and they don't gel, this is going to be a very long season. I'm so excited to watch this team. This is probably the team I can't wait. I can't wait.
Defensively, when you look at their pickups that they had, Tyson Chandler, Shumpert, McLemore.
Well, Shumpert's not on the team no more.
Oh, no?
No.
Won't.
They let him
well,
walk.
Tyson Chandler and McLemore, I think they tried to address the defensive situation, but I completely agree. The 7-second offense with D'Antoni, you're not going to really have to worry about defense. Capella is going to be your best defensive player, and I wouldn't be upset with that. This is, I think, my number 2 team in the West after the regular season. I think people question the Westbrook-Harden chemistry. Why is that a question? We saw them play together in the Thunder. We've seen them. They're hanging out together at Astros games, watching Altuve hit walk-offs over here.
That's already a meme. It's great. I love that. To see James Harden just waving that towel made my life. Man. It really made my life.
Friends.
I really am not questioning the chemistry. I think they're going to be perfectly fine. I think the chemistry with Harden and Chris Paul was terrible.
No one likes.
I wouldn't call it terrible,
but
I do think there were flaws, and they were exposed in that Warriors series, and ultimately why the Rockets decided to move on from Chris Paul. But the thing is, I don't think chemistry is the issue. I think that Harden and Westbrook will be excited to play each other, but Westbrook is going to have to take a step back. He's going to really have to be the Dwayne Wade to the LeBron James.
Yep.
James Harden is LeBron James on this team, and that's not a comparison that I use for everyone. He really can do. He is the team. This is James Harden's team. It will never be Russell Westbrook's team. It will always be James Harden's team in the eyes of the fans, in the eyes of the organization. It is always going to be James Harden's team. There is no way that they're going to let anyone, even Russell Westbrook, take this team away from him.
When you compare it to the LeBron James and Dwayne Wade, it took Dwayne Wade saying, "All right, this was my team, and here you are." I think that the same thing's going to happen.
That's going to have to happen.
With Harden, though. I think Harden's going to have to be like, this is my team, but here I'm welcoming you to it. take some shots away from me. I don't care. As long as we're winning games, it's what Dwayne Wade had to do. That's why they lost the finals against the Mavs, is because LeBron was like, this is his team. I'm trying to let him score and let him do it. Dwayne Wade took a step back and said, no, you're part of this team. I need your help to do this. I think James Harden's going to need to take some of those ISO plays away and be like, I need your help to win these games, Russell. Here's the ball in your hands. If you drive, you kick it to me, I'll shoot the three for you.
Yeah, I mean, the way the Rockets are built, though, they are built for the regular season. They are built to be a great team in the regular season, but that's not what the Rockets' goals are this year. And the Rockets' goals are to make it back to the conference finals, win the conference finals, and win the NBA championship. I don't necessarily think they have the pieces for that, though, yet. And that's the thing, though, yet, is what I say. There's no question Daryl Morey is going to make a move at the deadline. There's no question any of these teams. Like, we talk about all these teams now, but we also have to keep in mind that the season is far from over. February is months from now. So much can happen, and I think that, it's important that we talk about this now, but also it's important to keep in mind that we're looking at these teams now, and these teams that are looking right now aren't the teams that we're going to see in the middle of the season, in the end of the season, because injuries will happen, trades will happen, some superstar is going to get unhappy. Andre Iguodala is going to find a new home. I think that's the one person that we are looking for, first of all.
If the Rockets want defense...
That's the thing is,
and a three.
I think
another 3-point shooter.
The thing about Iguodala is that's another good point that we can go a little bit further into. Iguodala is right now under a major contract because he signed that 3-year deal for $16 million a year. I don't think teams are going to want $16 million a year without having to give up a major piece. And I think that the Grizzlies would have traded him by now if they found a trade that they were going to work with. They're eventually going to, I believe they're eventually going to buy him out. And it looks like what I've seen in reports and such, and what makes the most sense to me is he's going to sign with either the Clippers or the Lakers. It just, to me, it just doesn't make much sense at all that Iguodala is not going to be one of those teams. To me, that's what I see. I would love to have him in Houston. He was about to come to Houston before he signed that deal. He had a great free agent visit. There were rumors, he's already signed the deal. He was just going to go tell the Warriors that he wasn't going to sign. And the Warriors came up with this ridiculous offer that he just simply couldn't let down. But what do you guys think about the Rockets in the postseason? Do you think that they can make it past where they got to last year and possibly make it out of the Western Conference?
I mean, they have all the talent to say they could do so. James Harden needs to prove that he's a championship player this year. It's been enough of I'm going to get to the finals. I'm going to get to the second round. They have all the talent in the world. They have Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook is probably the most disrespected player I've seen in my lifetime. This man had back-to-back triple-double seasons, and people are like, he's a little overrated. Okay. Are you serious? Oscar Robinson's the greatest player of all time. He did it once. All right. So I think they have all the talent. They have all the shooters. They basically have the same team last year. They just swapped out Chris Paul, added a better player. Mm-hmm. There's no reason why they shouldn't be better. And the thing with Chris Paul, there's always a lot of rumors of he's very hard to play with, because in my mind, he has a Kobe mentality, right? He's not a fun person to play with, but he's not Kobe. You could be Kobe when you play like Kobe, and no one's gonna be like, "Hey, man, you know what? You gotta loosen up a little." Imagine telling Kobe to loosen up a little. Look at you, crazy. So that's why I like Russell Westbrook. He's a lot more relaxed, and him and Harden are friends. There's a lot you could get over when, they're not friends, they're brothers. There's a lot you get over when you're brothers, right? You can argue with them. You're always going to have some disagreements on the court. But at the end of the day, they're going to have such a high respect for each other. I think they will be a great team. They're probably the biggest contender to the Nuggets, at least in the regular season. But those LA teams are different. Kawhi is different. LeBron's different. I hope that the Rockets can make it to the conference finals, because I think they're going to be the most entertaining team in basketball, especially with D'Antoni still running it. They have no reason not to. They have all the talent, that chemistry. They got to make sure Harden gets his touches. I don't want Russell Westbrook to average 7 turnovers a game. I don't want him to hold the ball the whole game. There's only one player in the league I like to watch dribble around in circles, and that is James Harden. I don't even want to watch Kyrie do it. So, I think they could do it, and I hope they do.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Maybe I just, because as someone who's followed the team so closely for so long, I've seen what can go wrong, and maybe that's just the pessimist in me. I think this is a team that's going to get the 5 seed. I really don't think that it's going to be. I think they aren't fighting for the regular season as much as you say. I think that the Nuggets care more about the regular season. I think the Jazz care more about the regular season, and I think that the Blazers do, because those are the teams that need home court in order to win. The Rockets aren't necessarily that team. The Warriors aren't necessarily that team, and neither are any of the LA teams. They can go anywhere and win a game. The teams like the Nuggets, the Jazz, the Blazers, they would strongly benefit from having home court advantage, more so than the other teams. And I think that Houston's also in that boat where they don't need home court in order to win a series. It would be very nice, but also they have won games on the road in the playoffs before to where they don't need that. They have the experience and they have the ability to do that. Before we move on to the East, we're going to have a bit of a lightning round here with all of the teams that we have failed to mention in the Western Conference, and you're just going to give me quick thoughts, like maybe less than a sentence on what you think about this team in this year, and maybe one word. How about limited 3 words, both of you, okay?
That's hard.
Dallas Mavericks.
Luka for president.
All right, Tyler.
Not making playoffs.
I'm going to go Boban for president. Okay. We talked about the Nuggets, Warriors, Rockets, Clippers, Lakers, Grizzlies we did mention in the beginning. Timberwolves.
Wiggins, step up.
Wiggins, step up.
Please just tank.
He's just... How about missing Derrick Rose? They'll miss Derrick Rose this season. The Oklahoma City Thunder.
Free Chris Paul.
Free Chris Paul. To Miami?
Possibly.
Okay. Tyler?
Chris Paul MVP.
Tyler is crazy.
I mean, is that 3 words, though? I mean, MVP is 3 words in itself, but and a Chris Paul is...
You said a lot more than 3
I'll
words.
allow it. Steven Adams threes. That's what I'll say. The Phoenix Suns.
Pray for them.
Yeah. Not another year.
Yeah, I'm gonna go thoughts and prayers. Sacramento Kings. This is maybe a team we should have talked a little bit more about, but timing purposes, we will stick with it. Sacramento Kings. 3 words.
Might make playoffs.
That would be interesting.
Probably 9th seed.
Oh my god. I'm gonna go with get out of there. Meaning, just leave Sacramento.
Outa? Is it outa? Because that's 3. If it's out of.
All right, we're moving on.
San
Antonio Spurs, the last team we got.
They'll be alright.
Is that more than 3?
Okay, it's what is it? Conjunction. I'm not an English. I don't know.
All right, I'll allow it. All right, Tyler.
Go DeJounte Murray.
I second that one.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Murray or White. I think that's gonna be a very interesting. Because obviously Murray was out last year. Derek White stepped in, played really well. That could be a very interesting backcourt.
I think the Spurs are gonna be up there with the Jazz on best defensive team.
They might make the playoffs too as a 7 seed. Maybe
You can't doubt Popovich.
Yeah.
There's one thing you can't do. That man will find a way to get in the playoffs, one way or the other.
All right, now that we've sounded off on the West, we will now make our way into the Eastern Conference. And we're going to start off with the Raptors, only because they are playing tonight against the Pelicans. And they are the defending champions. But as we mentioned on the show yesterday, very few defending champions are in a situation like they are. They lost, obviously, their best player in Kawhi Leonard. But they're still a decent team. They signed Pascal Siakam to a major contract. They got Kyle Lowry a bag. Like, what can we expect out of the Raptors this season?
This might be a little bit of a hot take, but I'm actually expecting them to miss the playoffs this year.
Miss the playoffs altogether.
I think...
Explain that.
Just the loss of Kawhi, you're going to need Pascal Siakam to take a huge step that I don't necessarily think he's ready for. I think he'll be a 25-point player with 9 or 10 rebounds. I just don't think it's next year. I think Kyle Lowry, I'm not really think they're excited to put him as the top head of the team. I mean, you have Norman Powell, you have Fred VanVleet, who I think could play a major role, but I just don't see this team having that it factor that they had last year. I think too many teams in the East are ready to contend, and I think the Kawhi Leonard loss is just way too major for them.
Do you agree with that, Ross?
No, I think they'll make the playoffs. Just because the East is just not deep enough. Do I think they'll be a contender to win the East? No. I think they might be a 7th, 8th seed. I think they'll be better than the Magic, maybe a game or two. But they are banking so much on Pascal Siakam, it's crazy. You know how easy it is to be a great second fiddle to Kawhi Leonard when all the attention in the world is to that man? Mm-hmm. Can you do it by himself? He's going to have all the pressure on him. What are they going to do, guard Kyle Lowry? No. And I think Fred VanVleet will probably take over for Kyle Lowry at some point this evening because I love Fred VanVleet. They have so much rating on Pascal that they almost make me believe. When they give him that money, I was like, damn, that's crazy.
When you saw Pascal Siakam in the finals last year, did you think that's a $32.5 million player?
I mean, not really. No.
That's what they're paying him per year. 4 years, $130 million. That's $32.5 million a year.
I think they see
starting
him,
next season.
They probably see him as another Chris Paul in their eyes, or not Chris Paul. What am I saying? Chris Bosh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why I said that. But they're still going to have to replace 25 points a game from Kawhi, and I don't think Pascal Siakam's ready to do that, and I don't think anyone's going to fill in for what Pascal did last year for them and be that second man.
So where do those 25 points, where is that spread out?
I mean, they still got Serge Ibaka, who's going to give them maybe 15 a game, maybe.
That's what he gave last year, though.
Yeah.
You're looking to add 25 points a game.
Yeah.
I mean, I think
that's going to be hard.
From what I've heard in the training camp, they're a big fan of OG Anunoby.
And
he had a great season about 2 years ago, and it just seemed like
injured.
Yeah, he got injured, and I mean, obviously, once Kawhi's there, you're not going to be like, all right, Kawhi, you're going to have to rest a little. We got OG coming in, but I mean, Fred VanVleet should have a better year. They should have a good team. I just think the move to get, especially to sign, I mean, Kyle Lowry just seemed like a thank you signing. It was kind of like when they gave Kobe that giant contract that he obviously didn't deserve. It's a thank you. You won this championship. Here's the money you might not deserve. Pascal Siakam seemed like such a panic move. They're like, we have this great young player. He had this great season. We need to sign him. We can't be bad. In my opinion, there's no wrong with just saying, hey, we got this championship. You know, we'll keep Kyle. We'll sign him. Maybe we could trade Pascal to get a couple younger players and just maybe do a little tank. I hate being a 5th, 6th seed. I hate being an average team for 7, 8 years. I remember when the Hawks were average with Josh Smith for like 5, 6 years.
Well,
the Thunder were asking
the Thunder were looking for Pascal Siakam to try to trade Paul George. Yeah. That was the thing that was
Pascal. They obviously see something that we don't because they gave him
they almost traded him. They almost traded him this offseason.
I think.
Well, Paul George is different.
Paul George is different. And would you trade Paul George for Pascal Siakam? Absolutely.
Yeah. But they declined it. The Toronto Raptors said no. So they obviously love Pascal. I think they got Rondé Hollis-Jefferson, which I think is a good pickup for defensive-wise. Stanley Johnson hasn't really made that major step that people were looking for him to take. I mean, he's good defensively. But ever since he said that he was going to lock up LeBron James, he's pretty much gone downhill.
Yeah.
I think Fred VanVleet has to step up and get some of those 25 points that Kawhi had.
And they still got Gasol, who's a decent player. He's
another
veteran.
year older, though.
Yeah.
I think what you're going to see, you're looking to replace 25 points per game. You're going to have to, I think VanVleet and Anunoby are the two people that are more likely to receive better stats because of Kawhi losing, but also not just you look at the 25 points per game that he averaged, but you're not talking about the points that he stopped with his defense. So in a way, Kawhi Leonard possibly was averaging a plus 35, 40 a game. And that, to me, is something that
which is why I think they went and got Stanley Johnson for the defense on the wing position. They got Rondé Hollis-Jefferson for that, too. Siakam's just got to take that step that Raptors think he's going to take and get to over 20 points.
If he doesn't, the Raptors are going to find themselves in no man's land. They're not going to be a contender, and they're not going to be a team that is barreling out the bottom. Yeah. So they're going to be in no man's land, and they're just going to be a middle team in the East, which is kind of where a lot of teams in the East are. They're kind of just there. They're not terrible, but they're also not a title contender.
If you're in the middle in the East, you're also close to the 10 seed. So
yeah, and don't expect you can't replace Kawhi. there's only about maybe 2 players that are in the same level as Kawhi. Canadians are very forgiving. My mom's Canadian. I think they'll be okay. I think they'll
Is she
enjoy
really?
Yeah, Montreal.
Oh.
A little far. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean...
Quebecois.
Okay. Next.
All right, I'm going to move to the next. So we talk about the Raptors. They beat the Milwaukee Bucks in the playoffs last year. And the Bucks, obviously a team that is going to make some noise this year, but they did lose Malcolm Brogdon in the offseason. But Giannis is another year older, coming off of an MVP season. The Bucks could also be making some noise. They also got Robin Lopez, Kyle Korver in the offseason. Wesley Matthews is a member of the team now. So thoughts on the Bucks? How are the Bucks going to make some noise again in the East?
They have the Lopez brothers. Just ship them to the championship already.
Big facts.
But, I mean, you lose something in Brogdon being gone. They pick up Wesley Matthews, who, I mean, ever since he left Portland, hasn't really been himself. I think Giannis needs to take that step in shooting the ball. I think we need to see a lot more mid-range from him, some more threes. I'm not too ready to see him start chucking it up from 3, but I'm expecting another MVP season from Giannis. So.
Yeah, no, I really hope he doesn't get too comfortable with the 3 where, like Shaq said, you are a dominant paint presence. Mm-hmm. Get in there and show them that they can't stop you. Now, do I mind him taking maybe 2-3 attempts a game if he's open? No. If you're open, take it. You're an NBA player, unless you're Ben Simmons. So, but I think losing Brogdon is a big hit, and it's replacing it with Matthews is, Matthews is a decent player, but losing Mirotic, I feel like no one's talked about the fact that Mirotic completely led. He is a stretch 4. I love Mirotic. I'm not gonna lie, I might be a little biased towards him. But he could shoot. He could stretch. Brook Lopez is out here. Brook Lopez never wants to go in the paint again. I'm going to keep it so real with you. Brook Lopez wishes he was 6'5" and could just shoot. He hates rebounding. That's why they got his brother. His brother's the complete opposite. His brother does not like leaving the paint. They'll be a good team. They're in the East. So they have no choice but to be the top 3 team. They were in the West. It'd be a whole different conversation. In the East, they're a top 3 team. Giannis is going to have another MVP season. Eric Bledsoe's going to have a great season. Middleton's going to have a great season. They're a great team. But, yeah. I don't know if they're going to win these, but they're going to have a great team.
I mean, I don't think that outside shooting for this team is really the issue. I know they lost Mirotic, and I think the reason why people aren't talking a whole lot about it is because they still have a lot of 3-point shooting, and they're not going to necessarily compromise a player for that. And they have Brook Lopez, who can be a stretch 5, which you could also say Mirotic was also a stretch 5. But I mean, you also have Pat Connaughton, you have Kyle Korver. Ersan Ilyasova has some resemblance of an outside shot. Middleton also.
Oh no, they have tons.
The only person that can't shoot from the outside on the team is Giannis. Let's be real.
And Eric Bledsoe.
Yeah.
I'm not caving on the Eric Bledsoe.
He's not the guy that you want taking a 3 at the end of the game.
No.
I mean, on this team at least, you have so many more capable shooters on this team. DJ Wilson can also be a stretch 4. I think that you're going to see another step up from him. He had a big season last year. So that's, I think, why you're not seeing a whole lot of we're gonna lose Mirotic. I think that's why we haven't necessarily heard a lot about that. But the Bucks this year, they fell short, and they fell short a lot because Giannis was exposed. Giannis was exposed in the playoffs. How is he going to take the next step this season? How is he going to be able to, make it to the next level this season?
The next level would be ridiculous because this level is already.
Because he was such a high level last year.
I think not being afraid to shoot the open 3 is how he gets to the next level. If he can knock down open 3s, that's how he gets to the next level. I do not want to see Giannis hit a pull-up 3-pointer at any point. There's no point. It's not part of his game. You are a freak athlete. You are about 7 feet tall with a 7'6" wingspan. Go in there and dominate. If he has a little mid-range, I like that. Open 3, I like that. But defensively, I don't know how much better he can get. Rebounding, I don't know how much better he can get. Passing, it seems like every year he just develops a little more, not like skill, but he just limits his turnovers more. I expect a great season from him, but it's about the second fiddle for this team. Can Chris Middleton be the second fiddle that leads them? I don't know.
I mean, but also that's part of the reason why the Bucks were so good last year is because you had Giannis in the paint, and you had him driving and slashing and dominating in the paint, but you also had the outside shooting.
Yeah, but in the playoffs, you need a bucket getter. You need a second person that can get you a bucket, which I like Middleton. I don't know if he's good enough to be the second person to get you a bucket. So,
when it comes to Giannis taking that next step, it takes me back to when the Heat lost to the Mavs in the finals, and the first thing LeBron did was meet up with Hakeem Olajuwon and develop a post game that nobody would be able to stop. I would love to see Giannis be able to back somebody down and have the threat of not turning around and going for a layup, but being able to like fade away and hit a mid-range. If he develops a mid-range game, the NBA needs to look out because it's going to be scary.
I think and honestly, I think that's the part of Giannis's game that he was working on this summer, is because that's the one part of his game that he did not have down to a T. And that's, players, the NBA is such a year-round league now. Like, if you're not playing during the season, you're training for the next season. And Giannis is the one person that I think personifies that almost the best. He's someone that came from absolutely nothing. I think that's part of the reason why he's such a great player.
Yeah, that's one thing you're not going to question is his work ethic.
100%.
And so,
that's why he's scary.
So, and his drive is simply the reason why he was able to just simply get to where he is now. And like, he's a perfect role model for kids because he's a huge person. People see him as a superhero, and he literally came from the absolute nothings, and now look at him. He's still in a way an underdog, I think. Yeah. Especially considering he's in a small market. He has to face a lot of different teams, even in the East. The East is still very competitive this year, and I think but I also think the Bucks are going to be in the thick of things yet again. I think that this team, although they lost Brogdon, I think they can weather that storm. I don't necessarily think they can replace Brogdon or get better from that, but I do think they can weather the storm and continue their strong play from a year ago. Do you guys think that they have a shot at the finals this year?
For sure. I mean, the only team I really see in their way right now is the 76ers, who were obviously in their way last year, but definitely could see Giannis taking the Bucks with Chris Middleton to the finals.
Yeah, 100% I could see the same thing. I think the 76ers on paper are probably a stronger team, but Giannis is going to be the best player on the court, and at the end of the day, that's what matters in the playoffs. If you have the best player on the court, you have a shot to win. No, it wouldn't surprise me if they make the finals. Absolutely not.
So great segue, guys, into the Sixers now. The Sixers are probably the most improved team in the Eastern Conference this year, acquiring Al Horford and acquiring Josh Richardson, two starters for them, really. But also, they can challenge the Bucks for the biggest team in the East and in the league, especially with Horford and Embiid down in the paint. And that's something that we also talked about a little earlier when, we said, the West is a lot of small ball teams, but the East is very long ball. You have a lot, like Ben Simmons is a 6'10" point guard, and, I think the smallest person in that starting five is Josh Richardson at 6'5"
with a long wingspan.
So like, this team looks. I don't see a whole lot of holes with this team. Is there a hole in this team, Tyler?
I mean, it's got to be the shooting. If you have to pick one thing,
that's fair. They did lose JJ Redick.
Yep. It's got to be Tobias Harris that's going to step up and be the shooter. Al Horford can hit the three every now and then. Joel Embiid can hit the three, but their guards are not the best three-point shooters. Jay Rich can hit open threes. I don't know about just pull up. We all know what Ben Simmons can do from the three line. Nothing.
I can't do.
I think they went out and got Trey Burke.
They did go get Trey Burke.
So that's a good three-point shooter to have as a backup point guard. But if you're going to pick one hole, it's got to be the shooting on this team.
Yeah. Ross, what do you think?
Yeah, shooting and maybe they don't have a bad bench, but it's not an elite bench. I think they lost a little bit of depth. It's a good bench. I don't think it's like a Nuggets level or a Utah level bench. It's decent.
I actually really like this bench.
It's a good bench. I don't think it's an elite bench.
Well, Zaire Smith didn't play last year. He'll be a big part of the bench this year. Mike Scott, good player to come off the bench for them. Stretch four, and Troy even mentioned it on the show yesterday. Might even start if they want Al Horford to come off the bench, which that could be an interesting wrinkle if they end up deciding that, because Al Horford is a center, and so is Embiid.
Yeah. But
So-
you could
How far can he play
Horford's
the floor?
comfortable. Yeah, Horford's very comfortable at the
Because
floor.
he can go to the corner and
Bless you.
pull the.
Excuse me.
He can go to the corner and pull that corner three for them if they need to spread the floor.
Yeah.
Matisse Thybulle on the bench.
That's what. So Tyler, Matisse Thybulle might be my favorite rookie this year.
He's got a great
I'm not even
story.
gonna lie. I really like Matisse Thybulle. And I know you do too with him and your Washington roots. How is Matisse Thybulle going to be a part of this team?
He's going to be the leader on the defense when it comes to the bench unit. I think when you look at the Sixers, you think defense and length, and that's exactly what Matisse Thybulle brings to them. Just another wing player. And if you watched him in the Summer League, if you watched him in the preseason, he is hitting threes because teams are leaving him open because they don't think he can shoot, and he is knocking them down. He is a perfect 3-and-D guy. He reminds me a lot of Josh Richardson, and I think he can develop to be a very good defensive player in this league.
Ross.
Yeah, they have. I think he's a great young player. They have a very solid bench. What I like in a bench to me is one guy that gets you that you're gonna know should be a starter.
Is a
That's kind of
bucket
what I like.
getter, yeah.
Yeah, you know he's a starter. You could. That's why the Horford move makes so much sense because he could play from the paint and just distribute. He's such a smart player. Have Mike Scott with a little more range. I think Horford coming off the bench now, I think is probably the best way they could do this. And also, a huge problem with the Sixers is obviously injuries. Between Simmons and Embiid, what are the odds they're going to play 70 games each? Not super
But
high.
that's also, I think, part of the reason why they got Al Horford.
Oh, yeah. But in the playoffs, you're going to need all your players there. So they can get a big injury and be out for the season. They are super injury prone. That's another huge part of this team. But this starting lineup is possibly the most dangerous starting lineup. They're so long and tall and defensively strong. It's going to be ridiculous to watch them. And they have decent shooters. Losing J.J. Redick's going to suck. That was a veteran they liked having. But honestly, these guys have grown up so much. I always forget Embiid so much. Like, he's been in this league for so long, even though he missed 2 seasons. That's still a development.
He's 2014 class. He's
Yeah.
25 years old, though.
He's 25, yeah. Still, he's a veteran that's only played maybe
Be 26 in March.
2.5 actual seasons of playing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's going to be a good team. I hope someone on the bench could step up. I like Thybulle. If he could step up, it's great. Zaire could step up. I always feel like Trey Burke always has a great season that no one ever cares about. He could step up. This team is the most dangerous team in the East.
What is the one team that can challenge this team? I would agree with you guys that this is the team to beat. But what team is going to challenge the Sixers the most? Is it a team that we've already talked about? Is it a team that we haven't taled about yet?
I mean, I think it's safe to say the Bucks.
Yeah.
Safe to say the Bucks.
Because they can match them just in terms of
size.
length.
And
Yeah.
size and length. I think they're the best challenge, and once again, in my opinion, Giannis is going to be the best player on the court that's going to help. I think that'd probably be the best matchup, and they could give the Sixers the biggest run for the money
Yeah.
for sure, especially because they have a little bit of a deeper bench. They could probably pull a little more guys, a little more veteran guys coming from it. I think the Bucks for sure.
Something that, you mentioned, Ross, is about injuries. Injuries is going to, I think, play as big of a role this year for
Any
every
team.
team. It dictated who won the championship last year. You put
100%.
a healthy KD and you put a healthy Clay, that team beats the Raptors. I'm sorry, I don't care.
sure, yeah.
I don't care if whoever was home and whoever was away.
Yeah.
Like if KD plays that whole series, the Warriors find a way to win 4 games, and you have to like, it's literally, you can make an argument probably for, I want to say, 10 teams to win the championship this year, and it's a valid argument. But the thing is, the injuries are going to knock out probably half of those teams just because they won't be healthy either in the regular season. That will force them into a tough matchup in the playoffs, or they're just not going to be healthy and they're not going to be able to withstand the wear and tear that an NBA season brings. And then by the playoffs, they aren't 100%. And they won't be able to play.
I think if Embiid stays healthy, when I said Jokic is an MVP candidate, and I think it's going to be centers battling, I think it's going to be
Embiid can be in that
Embiid
conversation
is
too.
going to be in that conversation.
The one thing about Embiid that I don't necessarily like him for the MVP conversation is he's not far and away the clearest, biggest contributor on that team. He's going to have a lot of help. Whereas Jokic, he has a lot of help, but he's clearly far and away the best offensive player on his team. You can't say that about Embiid.
Embiid, I think, is going to take another step in his game. I think he lost, 20, 40 pounds, something
Stop
like
eating
that.
those cheeseburgers pregame.
Yeah. And I think the shot that Kawhi hit on them really made Embiid humble himself, and I think we're going to see something from Embiid that we haven't seen yet. I think he's going to be very good this year.
Yeah. The one team that the Sixers knocked out of the playoffs last season was the Brooklyn Nets, the next team that we're going to discuss. The Brooklyn Nets, they also have another interesting storyline this season with Kyrie Irving leaving Boston to come to Brooklyn. His de facto hometown team, I guess. I mean, he's a New Jersey guy. He grew up with the Nets. Now he's the point guard for the Nets. What is the Nets' outlook for this season, guys? Ross, what do you think?
I mean, look, honestly, the Nets might as well just pack it up the season and wait for KD to come back, in my opinion. They're going to not be a bad team. I think they should make the playoffs. You have Kyrie. But the thing that made the Nets so special to watch and so great to watch last year was that chemistry between D'Angelo Russell and that whole bench. It was so fun to watch them because you could tell they all love playing for each other. Because who expected the Nets to make the playoffs last year and even be a good team? Not one person.
No.
Not a single soul. Now that they have Kyrie, Kyrie is a great player. He is a transcendent talent. But he's also not a team ruiner, but he definitely disrupts any chemistry you have. He likes to come in and say, hey, I'm Kyrie. Give me the ball. I'm going to do this, which is great. He could do it. He can 100% do it. But the chemistry is going to lack. I think the signing of DeAndre Jordan was a very confusing one to me. It almost seemed like they were trying to pander to Kyrie, saying, hey, we got another big name. We got another one. We got KD and DeAndre Jordan, you know? Jared Allen probably should be starting for that team. There's no reason why they shouldn't have that young stud playing over DeAndre Jordan. Joe Harris is a great shooter. Taurean Prince is a great shooter. They have a great team, but it's just not. They're just waiting for Durant because they have Dinwiddie. They have LeVert. They have such a deep team. But I just hope Kyrie could just for 1 year just keep it calm. Keep everything okay. If the team could just bond together, maybe be a 4th seed, have a nice little playoff run, and then next year come back with the same team. Everyone's happy to go in and say, hey, Kevin, you go in there. You do this. They will be so amazing in the next year. But if Kyrie goes there and Kyrie's it up and everyone hates him and has to get traded and the locker room sucks, that will put a big rift between Kevin Durant and that team as soon as he comes back.
I like Brooklyn. I think they're a very young team. I'm not going to go as far as Troy did yesterday and say they're going to make the finals. I think they're young, which is why they got DeAndre Jordan. They need more veterans in there. They need to make the playoffs to build that experience. Jared Allen is a freak. He's probably one of the best shot blockers in the NBA already. Karis LeVert, Joe Harris, Spencer Dinwiddie. These players need experience in the playoffs, and I think Kyrie needs to lead them to that. I don't think they're going to be a high seed. I think they're going to be fighting towards the bottom. And, yeah, that's pretty much what I expect from them.
I think, you look at Brooklyn and you're like, this is KD's team. And 100%. But you can't look at that like that, especially at least for this year, because it isn't. KD is not going to be the guy. This is Kyrie's team. And it might be Kyrie's last team for a while. So this is Kyrie, or this is going to play a big season. This is a big season that's going to play a huge role in Kyrie Irving's legacy as an NBA player. This is the last chance he will have to lead a team as far as he possibly can with just him. And the thing is, I think what we're going to learn this season is Kyrie is a very good 1B player. He's not the kind of guy that you can have as a 1A player. His best years as just a basketball player came in Cleveland when he was a 1B player to LeBron.
Which is why he paired up with Kevin Durant.
And this is also true.
It always seemed like he wanted to be 1A. It seemed for so many years he wanted to be 1A, and then once he got the 1A chance, he's like, oh, this is really hard. And then he went right back to being 1B, and after this year, he's going to be 1A this year, by far. If he has a great season next year, is he going to be a little annoyed next year when Kevin comes back and say, hey, this is my team immediately? We got to see. We got to see, because Kyrie, once he has the ball, doesn't really want to give it up. So yeah. It's going to be an interesting season for Brooklyn.
I think.
What's the ceiling for this Brooklyn team?
Ceiling would be 3rd seed. If everything comes together and Kyrie goes crazy.
I don't even know if the ceiling's that high. I would say around a 5th seed for them. Kyrie's got to prove people wrong this year. I think he will. I like Kyrie Irving a lot. But I think the difference between him going to the Nets and him going to the Celtics is the Celtics won without him. And I think all those young players on that team were thinking, oh, we don't really need Kyrie. We're good without him. These Nets players haven't really been as good as those young Celtics have been and haven't been as deep in the playoffs as those young Celtics have been. I think having Kyrie on their team, I think they'll appreciate it a lot more than what the Celtics did.
Mm-hmm. The last team that I want to go over before we move on, we have about 20 minutes left. The Miami Heat. Obviously, you two know your Miami Heat, so I do want your opinion. I'm just going to let you guys have it right now. This is your team. You guys sound off on the Heat.
Your Miami Heat.
I love that. All right, you got Dos Minutos. Talk about the Heat.
Dos Minutos. The Heat will be good this season. I don't think they'll be great this season. I'm never that guy that says, "Oh, my team's the best. We're gonna be amazing." We aren't. I just want to get rid of Dion Waiters already. He is a crybaby, man. He is so mad that Tyler Herro's getting these minutes, and I'm so happy Tyler Herro's getting all those minutes. I cannot stand Dion Waiters. Believe me, I was on the Waiters train when he was killing it. He gained about 40, 50 pounds. Said, I don't care about this anymore. I am ready for Hero. I am ready for Butler. I think Butler will fit perfectly here. I think we have the culture to tame him, and I think everyone in there wants to compete like Butler. The problem with Butler is he went to Minnesota. People in Minnesota did not want to play. They were like, what do you mean we want us to try super hard? Towns is like, you crazy? Wiggins stopped trying hard once he graduated from high school. He's like, I'm going to just use my athleticism. I'm going to be 22-2 every year. I think we'll be a good team. You know, I love Hero. I absolutely love Hero. I think Goran will be okay. I think he'll have a good season. Justice Winslow, this needs to be his year. They're going to run point Justice, it seems like. I think he'll have a good season, man. He looked good at the end of the year. He looked very comfortable playing the point. A lot more comfortable than I thought. And he's going to be a defensive monster. So I think I would not be surprised if the Heat game maybe get a 5th, 6th seed. I think we should be a better team than the Magic are this year, which is all I really care about because I cannot stand the Magic. But overall, and I like Kelly Olynyk. I still love James Johnson. He'll be injured. I think he's still a little banged up. I mean, we have a solid team. We have, in my opinion, the second best coach in the NBA, best in the East, right behind Popovich. We have the best culture. We have Pat Riley. Let's go Heat, baby. I think it'll be a good season. Hopefully we could maybe, you know us, we're always scheming. Pat Riley is scheming every second of the day.
Scheming demon.
We're already playing another 2021 season, man. We're 2 years ahead. We're too good for y'all. But yeah, no, man, let's go Heat, baby. Come on.
Tyler, what you think?
Yeah, I expect a lot from this Heat team. Finally got that superstar that they haven't had since LeBron James left and Chris Bosh went out with his blood clots, of course. Point Justice, I mean, come on now. I love Point Justice. Tyler Hero, people saying he's a sleeper for Rookie of the Year. Heck, I'm going to say he's a sleeper for MVP this year.
Oh.
We are on the
But is he Michael Jordan?
He's better.
Yeah. No. Michael Jordan could ever.
I love Jimmy Butler. I think he fits this team. I think he fits Pat Riley's scheme and Eric Spoelstra's scheme perfectly. Just come in, work as hard as you can, and that's all we can ask for. Bam Adebayo. I can't even say enough about this kid. He has grown so much since he first came into the league, and he's just taken off. Right now they have Kelly Olynyk as the starting power forward. Get him out of there. Put Bam at the power forward and Myers Leonard at the 5, and that, I think, is a very good team. Battling with Magic. People are talking about the Battle of LA. What about the Battle of Florida here? The Magic and the Heat are going to be battling all year long. It's going to be great. Bam Adebayo, 22 years old. Justice Winslow, 23 years old. And people don't talk about Derrick Jones Jr. enough.
No, they do not.
The man has been in the league for
3
years. He's only 22 years old, and he is an athletic freak.
So one thing that so you mentioned Point Justice, which I think is his primary. I think it's the position he flourishes in the best. Where does that leave Goran Dragic out of all of this?
Off the bench, I think that's a perfect role for him. I think that makes our bench even deeper. Having Goran Dragic and Kelly Olynyk off the bench would be an amazing 1-2 punch that, I mean, is a lot better than most East teams can say they have coming off the bench.
Yeah. We traded Goran for about 15 minutes to the Mavs. That was crazy. He was gone. I was like, oh, bye, Goran. And then they were like, oh, no, he'll be back. I was like, oh, this is going to be really awkward. I think Goran understands his role. He's going to be a veteran. I think he's going to be a solid backup point guard. I don't think he'll Hassan it and be like, I want to start. I think he understands, let the 23-year-old stud Justice play. I think we'll have a great bench. I think he'll lead the bench. And that's the play, like I said. You need the guy to get you a bucket and can lead an offense off the bench. Let's go. And Bam Adebayo, I love you.
All right. Shout out Bam Adebayo.
Yes.
Shout out. Yeah. Also, is the Miami Heat taking the new title as the most white guys in the league?
They're going for it.
I mean, they might have it already.
We know Minnesota Timberwolves like 5-6 years ago.
Well, I mean, Charlotte Hornets last year, I think, took the title. They had a lot of guys. You have Goran Dragic, Tyler Hero, Myers Leonard,
I'm gonna go.
Kelly Olynyk, Duncan Robinson. That's
second.
5 right there.
I'm going second for quality behind the Mavericks because you got Kristaps and
Kristaps, Doncic,
Boban.
and Boban.
Those three are going to be hard to beat. It's quality over quantity. I love you, Tyler Hero, but Boban
man.
is
All right.
next level.
All right, we're gonna do again. Actually, there's one team left that I do want to talk about, highlight a little bit that we didn't talk about a lot yesterday that I think deserved a little more time. The Indiana Pacers. I don't want to talk about the Celtics. I'm sorry. I don't. We'll give them a little bit of time at the end. But the Indiana Pacers, I think, deserve a little bit of attention here. Pacers, they got Brogdon. They were a 4 seed last year before they lost Oladipo, or they were a 5 seed, something like that. They were a 4 or 5 seed last year.
Yeah, I think so.
I think they're 5.
And that's because they lost to the Celtics in 4 games. I remember that now. So they were a 5 seed last year, but should have been a higher seed. They just ultimately got really unlucky with the injuries. And the thing is, as we mentioned earlier, with injuries, there are going to be teams that simply just lose because they cannot stay healthy. But what do you guys think about Oladipo's Indiana Pacers right here?
Well, the fact that Oladipo is going to be out till about New Year's is really going to hurt them. Mm-hmm. I think once he comes back, he's going to be an MVP caliber level player. I think he's going to be amazing. He seemed like he had something to prove last year, and if I think he didn't go down in the playoffs, that could have been a lot different. Honestly, this team's amazing. I really think it's a good team, but Oladipo missing that many games is going to be a struggle. Brogdon's a big signing. He's going to basically just step in for Oladipo. They just gave Sabonis all that money, which I like Sabonis. I was very surprised because it seemed like they were going to trade him. They also have T.J. McConnell was a good piece. Miles Turner always seems like every year is one of those players. This is the year. But they're a solid team. T.J. Warren's a great player. It's a great team, but they're missing their superstar. Hopefully he can come back a little faster, maybe midway through December. That'll help. But once again, it's another team that always seems to love to play together. They always play for each other. There's no selfishness on that team at all. So I think Indiana will have a great season. Once again, I don't know if they'll be able to compete with the Sixers or the Bucks. But that's if I think Oladipo is going to be an MVP caliber player. He'll miss too many games to obviously be in the discussion, in my opinion. But great team, a lot of shooting, a lot of depth, a lot of young talent. I see no reason why they can't be good.
Yeah, I think I thought I heard rumblings of Oladipo returning in November.
I picked him in my fantasy team, so I hope so.
But I think they lose Darren Collison because he retired, and they replace him with Malcolm Brogdon, which is great. They lose Tyreek Evans because of his drug suspension for 2 years. Yeah. I think T.J. Warren was a great pickup. Sabonis, they just signed.
They basically got instead of who was it?
Tyreek Evans.
Instead of Tyreek Evans, you get T.J. Warren, and instead of
Darren Collison, you get Malcolm Brogdon.
To me, that's an upgrade at 2 positions.
Yeah. They also lost. They lost. No, Thaddeus.
Bogdanovich.
Thaddeus Young is gone.
Yeah.
Bogdanovich is gone.
Yeah. But I think Miles Turner is probably one of the best centers in the East. Mm-hmm. People don't talk about him enough. And they got They got 2 of the 3 Holiday brothers.
It's crazy. It's crazy. And they have 3 TJs on their team.
And Dougie McBuckets.
And they have Doug McBuckets, yeah.
Thank you.
It's going to be a fun team to watch, and I think, and that's kind of why, I wanted to talk about them a little bit, is because I think that there are so many teams this year that aren't getting as much love as they probably should. A lot of teams in the West, like the Utah Jazz, the Nuggets, the Blazers, just why I wanted to touch on them now.
And Nate McMillan is one of the best head coaches in the NBA.
Oh, for sure. He's done a great job with that team.
The reason they don't get talked about as much is because there's so many sexy teams out there right now, like the Rockets and the LA and Philly. There's just so many sexy teams that these good teams are kind of they're kind of boring.
And there's also Utah and Indiana. Those are small market teams that not many people are going to want to talk about.
Completely off topic, sort of. They're saying that Victor Oladipo is the thingamajig on The Masked Singer. Y'all don't watch The Masked Singer.
Yeah.
He could sing. I've heard his R&B album. He could sing. He could sing.
Which is why he's the thingamajig. Y'all need to watch the thingamajig. He is the thingamajig on The Masked Singer. If he is, I will be very impressed.
For MVP already.
They're saying that it could be Dennis Rodman, but there's no way it's Dennis Rodman. If that is Dennis Rodman's voice, I will be so impressed. But they're saying Victor Oladipo in his injury rehab could be playing the thingamajig on The Masked Singer. So multifaceted player, absolutely. Can he sing their way to an NBA championship? That's the question that remains to be answered.
No.
'No, but I don't. What's the ceiling for the Pacers this year?
'What's the ceiling for the Pacers this year?
'Cause I think they're great. 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 'C
A 4 seed.
4 seed.
Yeah, it's got to be a 4 seed only because Oladipo's missing that many games. If he
All right.
was playing the whole season, maybe 3rd seed.
All right, we're gonna do again 3 words for all the teams that we failed to mention in our Eastern Conference preview. We'll start with the Celtics just because I think Ross has a little more than 3 words. But
I'll give 2 sentences.
2 sentences. All right.
Probably overpaid for Jaylen Brown, and Tatum better step it up this year if he wants to get overpaid too.
Fair.
I'll go with your 3 words. Kemba better fit.
Kemba better fit. Yeah, he better.
Oh.
And it's better fit.
As in, Kemba's a better fit than Kyrie.
I mean,
Okay. That was like Kemba better fit. I think he'll be
and
fine.
maybe this is the year where Gordon Hayward finally makes sense of that
I
team.
hope so.
Brad Stevens surely hopes so.
Yeah,
He stuck
otherwise,
his neck out for
yeah. I mean, but look, you got Kemba, Jalen, Jason, Gordon Hayward,
They're
and
the same
Cantor.
team as they were
It's a
last
decent
year.
starting 5.
A
They
little
don't have
weaker
Marcus Morris,
A little weaker on the center position.
Yeah, this is just the year to let
but
the
they
young,
have Taco Fall.
It's
So.
it's a year to let the young guys shine and take out Kyrie, who's the disruptor. So I mean, I hope they have a good season.
And Carson Edwards.
Oh,
Carson
balls,
is
balling.
absolute
Baller.
a human bucket.
Human bucket.
I just want to see Carson Edwards and Taco Fall take over that team.
Yes,
Yeah.
That would make me happy.
that's the new
All
my new bowl and
ceiling for the Celtics this year.
3 seed.
3 seed.
Or they could even be a 2 seed, I think.
Do you think they could make it to the finals? The conference finals.
I could think Eastern Conference Finals for sure, yeah.
if Tatum and Brown do what the Celtics organization thinks they could do, they could be a second.
If
seed
they
and make the
show
playoffs.
like they were deserving of a top 3
yeah,
pick.
I don't think they are, but sure, I think. Yeah.
All right, now let's get to the actual
We'll do
3
3
words.
words, yeah.
Okay, Atlanta Hawks. Which man, that was another good team.
Oh man.
I like the Hawks, but 3 words for the Hawks because we're running out of time.
2 of these words might be the same, but very, very exciting.
Yeah, I mean you could have used more than 1 word, but yeah, very very exciting. He used 2 varies. That's pretty impressive.
I'm just gonna take out lots of young talent. I'm just gonna take out the ups and the 3 words.
Yeah, all right. Sometimes you got to do that when you only got 3 words.
Hey, we can
Hey,
make it
he let you have he sacrificed words so you could have it.
Thank you.
All right, so yeah, 6 words in between. I'm gonna go with Trae Young, beast.
This is a hard one.
It was a hard one.
Fly Hawks fly.
Yeah, fly. I mean, all right, we're gonna move on to the Charlotte Hornets.
Just get it over with.
Go Scary Terry.
Oh, he is on the team now. Yeah. I'm gonna actually come up with a really clever one. On the clock.
Yeah.
They're gonna get the number 1 pick this year.
Oh,
I don't know.
On the clock.
the
I thought that was clever.
bad.
That was
That was a
clever.
clever
Yeah.
bad.
They might be the worst team in the NBA. I'm not even gonna lie. This team,
Yeah, that's
when Terry Rozier is your best player, it's just
yeah,
not
man,
gonna.
maybe he'll shoot 34% this year from the field.
Maybe. All right, we're gonna move on now to the Chicago Bulls.
Better than expected.
Fly Zach LaVine.
Suicides in practice. Boylan's gonna make them run suicides for every point they lose by. They're gonna be running a lot of suicides this year.
A rough season.
Although I do like Kobe White.
I do like Kobe.
I mean, but the thing is he going to play Kobe White that much? I don't even think he's going to play Kobe White that much.
They better see
Yeah, Chris Dunn.
They can see Chris Dunn.
Yeah.
Put Kobe White in already.
Yeah. All right, Cleveland Cavs.
Gonna be rough.
Going to be rough.
Darius Garland. This is more, but Darius Garland, Rookie of the Year.
Ooh, I mean, okay.
Okay. I'm not, whatever.
ROY. Darius Garland, ROY.
We'll take it.
Roy.
Crowded backcourt central. I'm curious to see how Darius Garland is going to work with Colin Sexton. I don't know.
I like Sexton over
I
here.
feel
They,
like
they
Sexton's a
think
better
that
fit
they're
at the
going
2.
to be in the backcourt together. I actually think that they will see. I think you could see them together. But you also got Jordan Clarkson. So that could create.
Very
I
interesting.
want to see what
They have
Bohan
3
does.
first-round picks this season. They have
yeah.
Jim Bohan.
Garland, Dylan Windler, who's injured, but they have him, and they also have
Kevin Porter Jr.
Kevin Porter Jr.
Yeah,
So
young team. Not gonna-
young team, they're gonna do what they do in the East.
Learn.
The Detroit Pistons
Pistons over Raptors.
for what?
The 8 spot.
For the A. Oh, okay.
Derrick Rose All-Star.
Derrick Rose.
I'm sticking with it.
Yeah, you are sticking with it.
Yeah, sticking with it.
I'm gonna go with winning playoff game. I think they're finally going to win a playoff game this year. I think they're going to win one game though this year. I think they're going to lose in 5 in the first round.
There we go. That's optimistic.
I mean, hey, look, they're going to be a 7 or an 8 seed. I just can't expect them to go much further than that. It's unfortunate because Blake Griffin's a really good player. He showed it last year.
Yeah, if he just
Derrick Rose, I do like
injured.
that fit as well. But other than and Drummond also, I feel like they're just wasting careers there in Detroit. To be
It's
honest,
the best big man duo in the league.
Arguably,
it could
yeah.
be. It really could be. Next to
Drummond is
Horford and Embiid, but I mean, like they just simply can't get it together. And I'm wondering when they will be able to, if they do
When
at
they
all.
get rid of Reggie Jackson.
Yeah. All right. New York Knicks.
Better than expected.
Better than
I
expected.
think they will be a good team.
All right.
So many centers.
They do have a lot of centers. They do. Mitchell Robinson, Defensive Player of the Year. DPOY.
DePoy.
I'm also going to say I love Randall.
Yeah.
I love Randall.
Yeah. Do you love... You got the love Randalls?
Yes. No, I have the love. I love Randalls all over me.
It's a lot of added veterans on that team. I do appreciate
I love
that.
that. I love that.
All right. Orlando Magic.
Who? One word. Who? Who cares?
Same exact team.
I mean,
Oh wait, let's go Fultz. I'm changing it.
I like that.
Fultz's shoulder survives. I think he can make it through the season. I'm looking forward to seeing what he got. But I do think they will bring him in slowly but surely. I think it's not something they want to rush. But also, like, they have a potential. They have a number 1 pick on their team. Yeah. So, like, that's a ceiling. So let him prove it. Finally, the last team, the Washington Wizards.
Worst team ever? Question mark.
I'm trying to get this Isaiah Thomas way in. 3 words. Let's go, Isaiah Thomas. I know it's 4.
That is 4.
I'm cheering for you. John Wall's probably not coming back for a while because he just can't. He just loves to fall over stairs. Let's go, Isaiah Thomas.
I'm gonna go with biggest DC disappointment.
Yeah.
You look at the Capitals are a contender. The Nationals are a contender. The soccer teams are like they're the one team that just can't get it right. I guess the Redskins though.
I'm going to
The Redskins can't get it right here.
I'm going to a Cavaliers Wizards game this year.
Where?
In DC.
Why?
Because I'm going to DC and it's a very cheap game for some
I
reason.
bet.
Why?
Have you already bought that ticket?
Not yet.
Okay, good. You
But I
probably
need to go
buy it at the
see-
door
I-
and
I
get
need-
it for like $9.
I need to
Scalp
go
him
see
for
IT
$1.
too. I gotta see my boy Isaiah.
I love you, Isaiah Thomas.
All right. Before we wrap things up, we got about 5 minutes or so. I'm gonna just list a whole bunch of I'm gonna MVP. Who's gonna win it? Jokic.
Curry.
I'm gonna go with Jokic as well. I actually really like that pick. I'm gonna go Defensive Player of the Year.
Capella.
Ooh, okay.
Go Bear again.
I'm gonna go with Mitchell Robinson.
Oh.
We're gonna go Rookie of the Year. Rookie of the Year. Talked about it a little earlier in the show, but here,
Darius Garland.
Darius Garland.
Tyler Hero.
Tyler Hero. All right. John Morant. Okay. Eastern Conference champion.
Sixers.
76ers.
I'm going to go with the 76ers as well. Western Conference champion.
LA Lakers.
The Lakers.
LA Clippers.
I'm gonna edit my choice from yesterday. I know I said Warriors yesterday, but that was before the Klay Thompson news came out. I am gonna go with I'm gonna go with the Clippers. I can't say the Rockets. I'm a big jinx. I really can't. And also I really like that team. NBA Finals champion.
Lakers.
Clippers.
I'm gonna go with the Clippers as well. So I just look. The Clippers have the reigning Finals MVP. They got a really deep roster. Lou Williams is going to be a huge scorer off the bench for them. It's going to be really difficult for them to happen. But that is all that we have for today. Thank you guys so much for joining me, Tyler and Ross, for this extra special, almost 2 hour long podcast. I know so much has happened in the outside world probably after, but thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of the Hitting the Field podcast. Be sure to check us out on YouTube at Hitting the Field. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Hitting the Field as well. I will be posting might I add, with Kyle Partain and Jarrett Kappelman. They talk about UCF's big win over ECU on Saturday and then preview this upcoming week against Temple. And they also talk about everything else that's going on in UCF athletics. And we also have another show next week, and we'll be talking a lot of baseball with the World Series coming up. World Series starts tonight. We'll be also talking about the opening part of the NBA season likely, so that should be exciting. And then we'll be back next week for another episode of the Hitting the Field podcast. Tyler and Ross, we got to do this again. I love this. You two are always great together, and it's always an honor and a pleasure to have both of you in the studio. So thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we will see you guys next week.
Things gon' change when I really hit the field. Undefeated champs, man, you know what's the deal. Tryna find a kid, I'm in the field doing drills. Boy, you just a sucker, you ain't never keep it real. 3 rings in my hand, I'm a warrior to the max. When I hang it up, they gon' have to give me plaques. Step up in the building and I only bring the facts. When I make a highlight, they gon' replay, run it back. Okay, always locked in, I don't got time to lax. Saying he the best, he could take a lap. Batted 1,000 when you check the stats. Boy, is you ready? You ain't gotta ask. I just really hit the field. 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 Boy, I'm about to